Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust, Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is the Vault, episode 446. Competition is sin. I want to thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always, everybody that listens to it in the replay. We know many people end up catching a lot of the episodes in the replay, but if you want to catch the live episode when it actually goes live, hit the notification bell so you can get the notifications. Make sure you click it so you can get all the notifications of when we go live, not just when we post an episode. So hit the notification button so you can get those notifications. Otherwise, we're just going to hop straight into the episode. This is episode 446. Competition is sin. This is one of those things that this is like a loaded statement. This is a JD Rockefeller statement. We're gonna start using senior trustee statements. This is a senior trustee statement. So when you hear antitrust, we're gonna talk about one of those cases today. That's pretty modern. It's actually pretty much ready to go through possibly the court, which is Ticketmaster buying out a company called Live Nation. So in turn, there was an M&A merger, but they're saying that there's already been antitrust activity, anti-competitive acts, which means that the competition is the sin, and they're buying it out. But this is a holy grail of not talking about. Why talk about such a thing? Why talk about it? Well, it's in front of your face every day. So we're going to talk about it. Competition and sin is nothing more than antitrust. So let's talk about it. Antitrust, when we talk about the Ticketmaster and the Live Nation right now, you can go look that up. It's pretty modern. It's right now going on. You all can see what they consider a company saying in their motto, competition is sin. So we've seen it for years at the Vault where the 1% information fosters you to build a team. The 1% information fosters you to focus on the competitive nature of the marketplace and not be dumbed down, as they say, by not thinking that the marketplace isn't competitive, that it's not global. When you're in the internet era, how is it not global? Somebody in India could take your views. Somebody in another country could take your views. So how can you say it's not competitive? Somebody in another country is willing to put together a website. Someone in another country is willing to learn the whole platform. Someone else in another country is willing to be competitive. They're willing to actually do something better, as they say. But then competition is sin. So how is competition sin in the marketplace if it's supposed to be a competitive marketplace and it's not supposed to be what they call anti-competitive acts going on, antitrust acts going on. This isn't legal advice, this isn't financial advice. We're having a conversation about what competition is sin means. When you hear it from the senior trustees, the senior mentors say competition is sin. Okay, competition is sin. You can say it so many ways, but it's a loaded question because it's asking you, do you live or die by that theory? Do you think that is it just a theory or is it a fact? See, the beginning trustees, the novice trustees are gonna say, well, yeah, that's a theory. The senior trustees understand that that's a fact. In this sector, it's about focusing on for sure buying out the competition. That's why they have an antitrust law in place because there were people with this mentality that competition is sin. So how do you step into the sector and not adopt the mindset? You don't step into the sector and not adopt the mindset. You just don't get the right result. You don't get the result that you see the tycoons that put these vehicles in play. So when you say, "Oh, well, how anti-competitive is it?" or "How competition sin is it?" It's competitive as what we just mentioned. Someone else in India is working hard. Someone in another country is working hard. So it's going to be competitive. You go back to the global marketplace demand structure. That's what's in place right now. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's been in place for sure since the internet. It's been for sure in place since the Berlin Wall fell. We could say it's been in place since World War II. When you see what's going on, oh, they have a United Nation. Oh, they have a World Bank. Why need central banks when you can have a World Bank? Is that the theory that you want? Is that the theory or is that a fact? Because right now it's not a fact. Right now, central banks are in play. The World Bank has its place. The IMF has its place. They're not the go-to. They're ancillary. They're ancillary to sovereign wealth funds. Sovereign wealth funds are looking to have together the same funds. These are countries that are coming together and individuals and families that are coming together to put together tons of money to compete with countries. But you say, oh, competition is insane. So do you think if families say we're not going to let one central entity have all of the capital rules, we're going to have sovereign wealth funds, that shows you it's competitive. They're not just going to let the governments create this one world government, one world bank, World Bank, the IMF. These entities are already there. That's fine. But once again, you see sovereign wealth funds. You see different packs come together, just sort of like a ex NAFTA. You see these organizations come together because they know that they don't want it to be anti-competitive, but it isn't. So you're saying, okay, how do I have a fighting chance in the environment where it's anti-competitive? And they say it is. They say, oh, there's no competition. I mean, there shouldn't be competition. We're all going to get a participation badge. Well, we're all not getting a participation badge. That's a fact, not a theory. Some people are getting the short end of the stick. The competition is real. It's stiff. We get people contact the vault all the time. They want consultations for, hey, I'm looking to get started. I'm just getting started. Well, you're just getting started. It's competitive. So we've experienced it, even in the 1% room. But we're going to share something with you because this is the interesting part. In the 1% environment, we work together. It's less of us. The relationships are more sensitive because it's less of us. It's a small community. So how is it anti-competitive then? Because they work together. They do GPs. They do JVs. Not too many LPs. You see these things and you say, okay, so money's working with money. We're going to go ahead and let the cat out the hat. The money's working with the money. Oh no. When you get people in the room counting other people's pockets, as they say, how do you have a conducive environment? That's the competition. Oh, it's competitive because I got to count what they're doing and buy them out. I got to eat up what they're doing. I got to bring that up under my umbrella. It's almost like asking you, why would Elon Musk want to have a stake in ownership in Twitter? That's like asking, why does Bezos own Washington Post? These guys own newspapers so they can protect their image. Competition is sin. If I own the major news publication, what can you say bad about me? The major one. And then I got a fighting arm to publicize something that's positive if you think you can say something negative about me in a major publication. This is competition is sin. If I can't beat you, I gotta join you. Is that the rule? Is that the fact or the theory? The theory is, oh, maybe you'll never buy out your competition. The fact is, Elon Musk now has a major stake in a publication. It's called Twitter. Major publication of what would you consider the last 5 to 10 years over the internet of publicizing information. Then you get Bezos, another successful icon who gets in and gets the Washington Post. So of course, as big as they got, they say, "Hey, I need to have the biggest publication under my belt." One of them, competition is sin. That's what these individuals, senior trustees, have that mentality. That's the shark mentality. Oh, trust Christian and Vault. I gotta have that mentality. That's the senior trustee mentality. Because they say competition is sin. If they're following a senior philosophy, look at their families. Are they well off? But this is the mentality of the seniors. Oh man, where do you think they got it from? Rockefeller. This is a Rockefeller quote. Competition is sin. Competition is sin. We see this all the time in the marketplace. You know, people come through the vault. We got a non compete, non disclosure in place. People actually challenge it. Now you know why competition is sin. Because people challenge the contracts that you have in place. Non compete, non disclosure, non circumvent. They look at it do anything and everything because the competition is stiff. Oh, it's no competition. You're playing the participation game, and we're playing a game where there's a first place, a second place, and a third place. They forgot about the competition. The ones that turn money into a game. Interesting part enough. When you play that game, you get those results back. Every game has rules. When you play by the rules, for the most part, if you have a strong performance, you're going to have a good outcome. We've seen people many years, like we say, challenge the contracts. But we know one thing for sure. When you keep pushing along, you'll get a result. The competition, it being a sin, is from the perspective of knowing that, hey, look, in our world, they don't want to do business with you unless you're in trusteeship. And if you aren't, they're going to buy you out. No coach you up, no give you the game, no bring your family into the fold. There's no bring your family into the fold. At the vault is to bring your family into the fold. It's trustee training. But in the true private world, bring your family in the fold for what? They're buying you out. That's the harshness of the environment that we're in, where people say, "Oh, I'm just supposed to get the 1% information. I feel like I always was privy. I always thought I was supposed to get it, and then I got it. And then what'd you do with it? Did you become a shark? Did you put on your fangs, or was it, oh man, I'm gonna just keep sitting on these assets? Was it, oh, I heard something over the internet about that stuff, so I got in it. I still speak about it as though it's mine. It's my trust. It's my this. It's my that. So really, it's my everything, and then it's my. So when it's my everything, you're right. It's yours. That's not trusteeship. But then when someone that speaks from that level that understands those things, oh, well, I didn't go through the training. You're right, because you get trained by a family. A family gives you this information. You learn from a family. You learn from a private environment. So it's no, oh, well, I ran into the information. I'm going to try to wing it. I'm a wing, triple wing. Try to keep winging it. They were winging it. That's what they call it. Winging it. First of all, we definitely know a formalized system. You got to have a formalized system. Everything has to have structure. Okay. Well, we know many families that chose to not just make sure that there was a structure, they knew that there was an education that was involved with that. Interestingly enough, some people could say, was the education like regular school where I got to go through grades 1 through 12? No, it's actually having a tutor because they already know the subject. And when you're doing formulas and you need to check something and you check this and you check that, you check it with with a senior eye, not just with a novice eye. So what do you see? Why do people really train people or go over the information with people from the 1%? Why do they go over it? Because they want you to be in their fold. They want you, they want to buy you out. How much is that going to cost? What's your cost? So they want to know your cost and they're going to buy you out. Because competition is sin. It's really simple. We're happy for some trustees right now that said they got someone inquiring about buying out their business right now. It's a good thing always to hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm selling my business." That's great. That means you're selling an asset, but somebody else is buying one because they're buying the competition. So we definitely know what that's like when we sit back and see it, do it, but particularly see it from even a quick reference. Competition is sin. You say, "Oh, you can say that over and over, and it's loaded." It is loaded. It's definitely loaded. We talked about the antitrust. You definitely want to look into those cases. People promoting antitrust situations. Those are situations that can get you, in a tiffy. For sure, get you in a bad situation. So we say, oh, do I need to practice these things? Well, it seems like the people at what you call at the top, the sharks, are practicing competition is sin. That's the mentality of buy out your competition. Get them to sell your business to you. That's what it's called. It's a different mentality of you just selling. We're talking about it from the perspective of when we say that the competition is sin, that the sharks usually are speaking from. That's why we say people in trust deal with people in trust. You're no competition when you're in trusteeship. It's competitive in a public marketplace because people can get funding, private funding without you. They can they can get bigger than you real quick. So those are the things that are thought of in the public marketplace that maybe not necessarily in the private marketplace because it's a different type of funding, fundraising in the private as opposed to the public. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. We've been working on actually getting this flyer for the actual workshop that we got coming up on January 14th uh, in Miami. We definitely are already got that planned out. I was just working on a flyer. We want to put together a nice flyer for the actual scene. But nevertheless, this is definitely one of those episodes to go over the details of trustees say, "Oh, I listened to the episodes." Well, this is one of those episodes. It's for the trustees. Then let's have that conversation. Do you have that mentality? Do you see this mentality going on? Oh, I want to know what's going on with Trust Christian and the Vault behind the scenes and what they're really thinking about and what they're really talking about. This is one of the things. Competition is sin. This is what we're seeing, what we're engaging in. Why? Because so many people are practicing anti-competitive acts. Not only that, they don't. Where is the collaboration? There is no collaboration and collaborate and partnership. It's buying you out. Now, if you want to see joint ventures and uh, uh, GPs, that means that your money working with money. And that's the best part about it is when you think about it from that perspective and operate from that perspective of, oh, we have money and we're going to operate from having money and do a joint venture, then it seems as though those relationships work out better. It's just interesting to see so many people not want to practice the joint venture mentality, not practice the general partnership mentality. They just, oh, well, I can't do a deal with that person because they're bigger or they're smaller or for whatever reason. And so, it's interesting to see that. But once again, if you're not going to practice these partnerships, then obviously you're practicing competition and sin. That's right. You got to pull off those JVs, and GPs, and LPs or whatever you're pulling off. Otherwise, this competition is sin. Because so many people have practiced these things, even towards the vault. We see it all the time. Not to point it out in a way in which it's prevalent. It's just something that you see. It's like, oh wow, this is something that's out there. It's something that says, oh wow, these this is what people practice. This is what goes on. Well, if you want to go there, the rules are already written. So we're willing to play by the rules. And this is one of those rules. This isn't talked about outside of the boardroom. It's behind the closed doors of the boardroom. This isn't one company. This is multiple companies. Go look into multiple companies that are creating anti trust, what you call antitrust, situations. So it's not anything not new. You would think that, oh, well, they put a law in place to stop it. It's not them about putting a law in place to stop it. It's this is the mentality when you're in a competitive environment. To what? Competition is sin. Are we not in that? Are people not vying for market cap? Yes. People are vying for market cap. And so people are willing to buy out that market cap. And it's good to talk about these things out in the public. So many people, they ask, well, oh man, how's things going? How's things going? Well, how are things going? Are they competitive for you or anti-competitive for you? Because see, this is the downfall of the word then. Oh, is it not supposed to be competitive? It is. It's for you to make a better product or service. A better product or service. That's why it's competitive. Okay. So we see so many imitators think they can do trustee training like the vault. We know that see this is how the mentors trained us. See, I want to come to the vault and say, oh, trust Christian the vault, we listen to you, we listen. Oh yeah, this is what the mentors told us. You either got to be first or you got to be different. They kept it simple. They say you got to be first or you got to be different. We said, okay, we'll figure it out. We figured it out. We were different. Everybody wants to talk about financial literacy on the internet. This is generational wealth. They want to throw these terms around. You're competing against J.P. Morgan. So your wealth ideas are better than J.P. Morgan stiffs. You think your ideas are better than a a Goldman Sachs stiff? Oh yeah, sure. Hey, no worries then. No worries. These are the people that actually are managing funds for billions of dollars, but you're not managing that. And these people don't want to admit that over the internet. They don't want to admit that they're not managing funds, but they want to tell you how to build or manage generational wealth. They're not actual. If you're not from those companies, how can you say you're doing that? But there's so many gimmicks over the internet. Oh, we're giving out financial literacy, how to build generational wealth. Competition is sin. We do trustee training. We're different. This is the vault. It's Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com. The competition is sin. Oh man, so you're supposed to be the only company doing it? Well, we're not the only company doing it. Guess what? There are other companies that are doing wealth management, wealth consulting. Uh, they're doing a gambit. They're providing a house of management for people's assets, and they are consulting families. This is definitely what you see. This is interesting because what's so funny is remember going to this event one time and we're in the room, and this is actually a cocktail hour before the main event. And we're in the room with a bunch of stiffs, once again, suits and stiffs. And uh, we get in front of these older gentlemen, and they say, these are the older 45 and crew. So they've been in finance for a while. And you ask them, you say, hey, what's the what's the biggest challenge you face in this environment? And the resounding back-to-back multiple people say, it's a competitive. Well, it's a competitive environment. So finance is a competitive environment. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be throwing around money," but then they don't talk about the competition. It's like, "Oh, okay, we don't have to talk about that." Like, no worries, no worries. We're in an environment nowadays where if how is it not competitive when these guys are showing you and flashing wealth in front of you? What you think is wealth because they're flashing cars, they're flashing houses. First of all, wealth is quiet. I know y'all don't want to hear that. The Vault gonna here to tell y'all because y'all don't want to hear that. But when you come to the Vault's workshop, it's just business as usual. It's not saying here you don't need to show up with gold chains, you don't need to show up with fancy watches. We're not expecting you to show up with diamond studs in your watch. Why? Because we understand that wealth is quiet. People that are traveling through the airport, that's wealthy. They're not trying to be known. They're not trying to be out in the public. But this is the perceived perception in the public because if you came from nothing, supposedly you could wear your wealth on your back. And guess what? That's not the case. Wealth is quiet because competition is sin. The competition to be wealthy is a sin. They consider it a sin. So why show you that we're wealthy? Then you would want to compete with us. Little do you know we got more than we'll ever need. We got more than we'll ever spend in our lifetime. We stuck to the principles. We defied the odds, as they say. Why? Because we understood that it was a competitive environment. We understood that if you knew what we had, you would compete. You would do something. It's what we call pocket watching. It's where people say it's a perceived value. It's when you even look at these people and say, man, he must be rich because he's got that car. Man, he must be rich because he has his house. Right. It's the perceived thought that someone is wealthy. Oh, this guy must be rich or wealthy because they have this car or because they have this house. Yeah, okay. But the competition, we know we don't even want competition. What you gonna compete with us for? To buy back your time? If you knew you had to buy back your time, we talked to one of our mentors about that recently, about buying back your time. How you gonna say you're wealthy but you didn't buy back your time? You're still working. You can't give it up. Did you buy back your time yet? Because no one wants to say, oh, it's competitive. Well, the ones that do say it's competitive, they're competing. It is competitive. So when you're competing, you just outwork your competition. The competition sleeping or taking naps. They're trying to show off before they get to the finish line. So what happens? You buy up the competition. And the ones that don't really know that you were the whole time buying up the rest of the other people, the ones that don't want to sell with ease, they see that the market's impenetrable. They're pretty much not going to get any more market share because you don't just own first place. You don't just own second place. So they find themselves at odds. This is the mentality that people have in the private marketplace. They're making sure that their families never have to work ever again. That's competitive. Some people are going on vacations. They're making sure their families are never going to have to worry about which school they go to, how much it costs. They're not worried about security. They're not worried about the food prices. What do they say? The path to heaven is narrow. Why is it so narrow? Because the competition you think is a sin. See how it's stated as a sin? It's almost sacrilegious to even have these things. But there's nothing wrong with having these competition. It's something that says, hey, this person they got you that time. They did something better. They outsold the company. They did things better, and that's how it goes. It makes you what more? It makes you better, or does it make people better? Hmm. What we see is it doesn't just make people better. It makes people want to compete more. That's what our trustees go through the trustee training and get bulletproofed on, knowing that the competition is sin. And they got to get bulletproofed. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen to replay. Christian at trustchristian.com for trustee training for the workshop coming up. We're going to have a flyer. We're going to put it up. Just look forward to it. Christian at trustchristian.com. If you like to reach out and get the details of it early, feel free to reach out. It's January 14th. Look forward to hearing from you. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Look forward to hearing from you all. Just know that this isn't a line that we want to tell you, oh, it's not true. Oh, competition isn't sin. Guess what? You don't have to believe it. That's a theory. Just know in the private sector, it's a fact. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace.